Kelly shaping the world. Lillian drops wisdom, helping minds unfurl. Business plots brewing, chaos ain't no sin. Tune into the mayhem, let the fun begin. Mike's moms and mayhem, chaos in the street. Business plans and laughter, living out the dream. Real talk, real moments, endless fun on air. Join Lillian and Kelly if you truly dare.
Hello and welcome back to another Mike's Moms and Mayhem. I am your host, Kelly.
And I'm Lillian.
And so today's episode is one that's close to both of our hearts. So we're talking about rewriting our stories. You know, those stories that we tell ourselves or that we used to tell ourselves, you know, who we are, what we can't do, and why we are not enough. So today, me and Lillian are flipping the script on those today. We're going to all together rewrite our story. So, what are the stories that we've been telling ourselves? What about you, Lillian? I'll let you go first and then I'll come in.
Okay, I think you hit it on the head, right? I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not deserving. And it's time to reclaiming
Reclaim
our
my
space,
time.
reclaiming our names, reclaiming us. It's time to do that.
So for me, I used to tell myself that there was a traditional path because why? I was taught that. We were taught that. We were taught that you go to school. You go to school, you go to college, you're going to get an education, and then you're going to go to work. You're going to work for somebody for 40 years, and then you're going to retire.
Yeah.
And that is how you will define success. And so that was ingrained in me. That is what I knew. Because again, like I said on a couple of episodes ago, that's what I saw. My mom, my dad, they worked jobs for 40 years. Only one job for 40 years, maybe two, but they worked until they retired. And that was it. I knew that there was something more that had to be done. Yeah, so I told myself I had to follow that traditional path for a career. Of course, I started out in nonprofit and I worked my way up to that. I had a taste of a title. I had a taste of some powerful decision because I was second in command at this nonprofit organization, had the opportunity to possibly move to become number one. But when things took place that hindered me from going there, I thought, so maybe this is not for me, maybe. And I think that is when I learned, no, I'm not going to be at a job for 40 years because I now need to go somewhere where I can be, and not the word important. Important's not the word I want to say. I don't know, to take some risk, to take some stepping outside of whatever comfort zone that I had put myself into while I was in nonprofit. And so if that meant I had to take a risk, then maybe, hopefully that will pay off somewhere. But I also believe that I had to do everything for everyone else. So not only working this 9 to 5, but again, remember, marriage. So I had a husband, have children, and still trying to climb my way up a corporate ladder at that time. Okay. So those are the things that I was telling myself, that I had to work. I had to work a 9 to 5. I had to work a 9 to 5. I had to climb the ladder to be successful. Those were the things because, again, that's what I was told. That's what I knew. That's what I knew. That's what I was taught even before knowing that I could do anything outside of that. That's what I was telling myself. After doing that, we then go into, where do these stories come from? Like I said, mine was ingrained because that's what I saw. That is how I grew up. That was what was called stability. in my family. If you don't work a job, if you don't work a job 40 hours for 40 years, then you're not going to be stable. You can't keep flip flopping a job hopping because you can never be stable. I was taught that. So I was taught, I was ingrained, I was only going to work one job. But like I said, when I got to that job and when I climbed the corporate ladder, I did everything I was supposed to do. I did the certifications, I did the trainings, I did the professional development. And again, I was right there when I could have made it to the top. And this would definitely come up in another podcast. But when I had to train somebody to become my boss, I knew at that time I had to think in other ways. I knew at that time where even if I worked twice as hard, even if I did what I had to do, I could still not get the job that I knew I was qualified for. I knew that I was positioned for. And I knew that I now needed to now become creative, think outside the box in order for me to move on. So again, and let's be honest, again, like I said, as Black women, we get hit with that strong Black woman trope. We're expected to be everyone to everyone. We're expected to be resilient, resourceful, sacrificing, and it's exhausting. And again, we'll go into, I'm sure, in another topic where we focus on a little bit more of becoming resilient because, hey, yep, you were almost there, Kelly. You were right there. But we're going to hire somebody else because,
We decided to move in a different direction.
and I know you have those stories. I know you do. I
Listen.
know you do. But yeah, but we're supposed to just be everything to everyone. So then again, there's society telling us that we have to either what, hustle or fail. If we're not constantly grinding, then we're not successful. And so those are where some of these stories come from. Where some of these stories come from for you?
So my story actually, or this issue more so for me, started in my childhood. And I was a regular, what I would consider a regular child, right? I was a little girl. I like to talk. I like to sing in the mirror. I like to play pretend. I like to be loud. I like to do things. I was just like that person. I was what the old folks would say, fast, because
Mm,
I didn't want to sit down and be still. And I can remember just being me and doing me. And all I just remember is that shut up and sit down. Go sit
mm,
down. Go sit
be a
down.
child.
Be
Be a
quiet thing,
child.
right? Be a child. And I wasn't necessarily being grown per se, but I was
Right,
just being me, right? Again, what they call fast. And
right.
so mine is more so this idea of I have to shrink myself to make other people feel comfortable, or this expectation that I am supposed to dim my light to not offend someone else or to allow someone else to have the space to shine. And
Right.
that was something that followed me through a very large part of my adulthood.
Mm,
It trickled over into relationships, it spilled over into job, it spilled over into my self-worth, just all these things. And so I
for
found
sure.
myself actually developing imposter syndrome because I just did not feel like I was good
Talk about
enough,
Yeah, talk about it.
or if I didn't feel like I deserved to be in certain spaces. And this whole idea of not dimming my shine is a relatively new thing for me because that was just how I was taught. Women are supposed to be seen and not heard. And I'm gonna go off script for not script, but off the topic just a little bit to kind of bring it back because we actually were talking about this in my class this week. This idea that it is our responsibility to make sure that other people don't stumble or don't have hardship or hiccups, oftentimes at our expense. And so when I say that, I'm very much framing it in the church, right? It was this idea that women could not be sexy or sexual or who they were or voluptuous because what if you cause your brother to stumble? So you get in this place where you start hiding your body, where you start again shrinking within yourself because the expectation is I got to not make you feel some kind of way.
Yes.
And the absurdity of, and we've talked about this in a lot of different contexts, but this idea that, because I'm built a certain way, it's going to make somebody else feel bad. So I can't present the way that I would because I don't want to. I can remember too, you don't want to do anything to cause your brother to stumble, cover your arms up. Or what if you don't want to be temptation for your brother and cause him to backslide?
Yeah.
So you should wear your hair this way, or don't look this way, or don't do this thing. And even think about what we teach little girls in the Black community, right?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you are shaped a certain way, you are automatically seen as fast. Oh, you
Yes.
better watch that one. And what it teaches you is to not be who you are, to be ashamed of yourself, to
Body
be ashamed of
shaming.
your
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
And we're going to do it in the name of Jesus, praise the
Yeah.
Lord.
Yeah.
Is trauma. And so
Yeah.
part of rewriting our stories is understanding where the narrative started, and then reclaiming that space and reclaiming the narrative and being who you are. And so that was it for me. It was childhood. It was my family. Like a lot of the traumas that I'm unpacking stem from my family, a
Mhm.
lot of them.
And you brought up a very good point. You remember a couple years ago, it's been a few years now, but Erica Campbell from the group Mary Mary and that white dress, when she came out with that picture of that white dress, and the gospel industry went crazy. Why? She sings gospel. Why does she dress? Why is that dress so tight on her? And I remember she said it took her a couple days, probably a couple weeks to even respond. But she said, all my life, she said, because I was raised in a church and this is what I've known. I'm not supposed to, my skirt's supposed to be all the way down to my toes. My shirt's supposed to be all the way up to my neck. My arms supposed to be covered. And why? Like you said, in the name of Jesus, because that is how we were raised. That is what is ingrained. Because again, not only did the gospel industry, but even as we, as fans, as onlookers, as had a conniption. I didn't, because look, what? He was beautiful.
And it's just,
And yeah, so
yeah,
yeah,
because
the
people,
body shame and all of that. So
yeah.
yeah, that childhood trauma, but that the start of those stories is what happened. That is the start of how, like you said, just now thinking now being in the present time as we are raising our daughters, everything that we do and say begins their story. It starts their story, even for boys. However, men are shown and displayed or presented, we're starting their story. And so we have to be careful now that we know, based off the experience and based off the things that we now know, we have to be careful with how we're shaping the stories of children just based off of the trauma that we went through. So that's good. That's good. And that all came based off our personal stories, like looking at a personal reflection. I carried that mindset for so long. I spent years trying to juggle multiple roles. Again, I've always been a hands-on parent. I was a present parent. I was at the plays. I was at the parent teacher conference. I was at whatever event, basketball. My boys were basketball players. And so I was at every game cheering. I had to make sure they went to practice. They started off football. I was there. I was running from work, didn't eat, trying to figure out what to fix real quick so we can go. If Cedric had to work late, then that mean I had to juggle two boys, two different practices. Sometimes those two different practices weren't in the same location. And so I'm carrying Leah because Leah was a baby at that time. So I'm juggling her. Sometimes I had my niece, but then I had to think about, I am this at my job, so I have to work in the evening sometime, and always juggling multiple roles, pouring into whatever job I was at. I gave my 1,000% at every job I held, and at every job I held, I had the best work ethic. I made a name for myself. People wanted to come to me for whatever because I knew the position. I knew your position. I knew the president's position, right? That was just me. I did it, but still was overlooked.
Always overlooked.
If anything I applied for, what was your phrase a few minutes ago? We're going to go another way. We're going to go a different way.
Listen. And it really messes with your psyche.
Yeah.
Like we could do a whole show on just that from
Ooh, child.
the career perspective, but it makes you think something's wrong with you. And I've been right there. I've had to train my own supervisor
Listen,
a couple
listen,
times.
listen.
And or either the person who got the job instead of me wants to now come to me and get mentorship and coaching, and you just looking like, so
What?
I couldn't do the job, but I can
Yeah, I'm good enough. I wasn't good enough for the job, but I'm good
right,
enough to train you
right
for the job.
for the job.
Oh, okay. Make
And
that
that
make sense.
messes with you. And
Yeah,
it never makes sense.
yeah,
And it will
never,
mess with your mind. It
never.
does. And I'll tell you another thing, social messages too. This idea that women should be seen and not heard. And we still live in a society where it's very victim blaming. And so if something
Mm.
happens to you, it's never, let's address the person that hurts you. It's what did you
What
do
did you do?
to
Yeah,
encourage that, or what
yeah,
did you do to put yourself in that situation? And that messes with your mind too, and so you
yeah,
start to believe things about yourself based off of other people's assessments or based off of other people's expectations, and before you know it, again, that's where I ended up in this imposter syndrome, where I just felt I wasn't worthy, I felt I
yeah.
wasn't good enough, I felt I
Valued.
wasn't valid. I felt like I was broken. I felt like I was nothing because the way that I was conditioned to think about myself was that I'm too loud, I'm too this, my personality's too big, my mouth is too big, I should be quiet, and ladies act like this. And I was
Oof.
talking to, we have a mutual colleague, and I was talking to her the other day because someone's mentoring her to try to help her be better and I at certain things. And I said, I think that's a great idea, but let's not get this blown out of proportion here.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of the value is that it's authentically you
You.
and you are
Mm,
not like, and that's why one of the reasons, if you notice,
that's
like
good. And that's good.
I marched to my own drum and it took a
Me too.
long time for me to get here
Yeah,
because I was that person. And so even the way that I dress is, it looks like it's not intentional, but it is because I'm not, I have suits,
yeah,
I got heels,
yeah,
I have professional wear,
yeah. But
but
why?
what does that mean? What does that mean? So
What does it change?
if I don't dress the part, then I'm what, less than? No, it impacts the perception of me because
Yeah,
people don't think I'm smart because I present this way. Guess what I'm going to show you? I'm going to show you what Black excellence looks like. And it
yeah,
looks like however I show up. And I'm going
yeah,
to show you what a dope ass doctor looks like. And it looks like
yeah,
however I show up. And so
yeah.
what I am more intentionally trying to do is help like change that narrative that, you know, maybe a few months ago, there was this like big thing that our organization was trying to do. And it was like, oh, we dress professional on Wednesdays. And I was just like, yeah, I'm out. I'm not doing that. I'm not. Because what I have been in job interviews where individuals had come in, prospects have come in and blown it out the water, knocked our socks off. And time they leave, the panel sits there and they go, I couldn't hear nothing they said because of that shirt. But did you see the pants? Did you see that? I'm sorry. What? It is not about that. It is not about that. And so the complex that we give people, though, again, wanting to categorize them certain ways based off of how they present or based off what they wear. And so going back to my childhood, I sometimes when I'm reflecting and I'm thinking about things and I just wonder, had I had parents or family who was like, girl, go out there and be loud, go out
Hmm.
there and flounce, go out there and do whatever it is, where would I be right now? Where would
Yeah,
I be if I would have had that support to say, you know what? Your personality says you need to be in the front. So let's not put you in the back. Let's put you in
yeah,
the front and let you do this. Let us support you and what your personality is showing us is you. Let us facilitate that. Where would I be? And I can only imagine how far I would have gone. But I can remember being in my teens and like the last place I wanted to be was in the front of anything. As I got older, I felt like and I used to tell my husband, I know I'm supposed to be on a stage. I'm supposed to be sharing a story. I'm supposed to be talking to somebody. I'm supposed to be saying this, but I would be afraid to do that. I would be afraid because I was always taught, what are people going to think of you? Or you don't want
mm,
people to think this about you, or you have to come down. You're up here and we really need you down here. Guess what? This ain't for me then because I'm up
yeah,
here. But I wasn't taught that. And so I was afraid to do, and I used to feel like this turmoil inside because everything in me was telling me I should be doing this thing. But me being me and being written the way that I was feeling like, how can I do that? If I go up there, they don't want to hear from me. People don't want to
mm,
hear what I have to say again. They don't want to see this, me good up here. I have to make sure I look this way, or are they going to be judging this thing? And I missed some really good opportunities
yeah,
because I was afraid based off of how I was conditioned. So
yeah,
we really have to be Like you said, intentional, because the next generation is watching. And so that's why I'm
Mhm.
that professor, I'm that person, I'm that mentor, I'm that TT.
You're that
Look,
friend.
I try to be, but even when like, and don't get me wrong, I don't like when students wear bonnets to my class. I don't like when they come in
Okay,
there with their night
okay,
clothes
okay.
on.
Now
Like,
there's a limit.
no,
There's a limit.
no, I don't agree. Because I'm gonna tell you this, and I've heard people say, do you remember some years ago when Monique went all crazy about how the girl was in the airport with her bonnet and all that stuff? And I sat there and I was like, we're gonna act like my auntie didn't leave the house with her rollers, with her pen rollers, with her pink cushion rollers, with her hair
But
tied up because she just
that
got
didn't
her
make it
hair
right.
done.
That ain't make it right
It
though.
doesn't make it right, but it needs to change the narrative, because now we're saying it's, and no,
I
I don't
don't
even
know
want to say
about
that.
that.
No, I'm gonna stand on what I said. It's not about making it right or wrong. It is what it is, and it's about accept. This is how we've been trained to think. You don't look like a doctor. You don't look
Mhm.
like you're smart. You don't look like you have value. What does
Okay,
value look like?
but that's different
No,
though.
it's not. It's really not. Tell me
That's
how it's different.
different.
Tell me how
Going
it's different.
to Walmart and with your bonnet and with them big old bedroom slippers, and you just look like you just literally rolled out the bed and went to Walmart. That's different
You still
than
have to tell me how it's different.
that's what I'm saying. So that's a little different when you are going out into the public and you are, I know, don't fix your face like that.
I'm
You're going
listening.
out
I'm
into the
listening.
public
Okay.
and you are wearing a bonnet, are wearing some very dirty bedroom shoes. And how does that represent who you are
How is that
going to
indicative of who
perform?
I am to a certain level? Because the other side of that is those people who turned you down for your those jobs, did they have on business suits?
Some did, yes.
So here you are, your best, and you're representing yourself as if I'm you. The way you've represented yourself to me shows that you can't see my value. Shows that you are perfectly okay mistreating me, overlooking me, and counting me out. And you did it in a business suit. That's not. You see what I'm saying? Like I don't think. And don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I don't understand where we're coming from, because we
Yeah,
do. We used to be a people who carried ourselves with a level of pride, but we have to understand the narrative is changing and these kids are reclaiming the narrative, and we got to suck it up and be quiet. And I'll give you a perfect example. A couple of
I
years
have.
ago, my older son had a job interview, and I tell this story all the time. My older son had a job interview and he told me and my husband about it, and we're like, okay, cool. And so it came the day for the job interview. He got dressed and he comes out, he goes, I'm gonna go. He had on just ripped up skinny jeans. He had on this, because they don't believe in loose fit nothing.
Right,
He had on
right.
this like t-shirt that was, I mean, he's a small, he ain't no big dude, but it was a smallish t-shirt. He had on the belt with the big buckle. He had his J's on. My son got dreads. He had them all flipped up. And he came out, he was like, all right, I'm finna go. And I was like, where you gonna go? And he was like, we had his job interview. And girl, I had to catch myself because I was like, if you don't get your, and I stopped. And I said, okay. I said, good luck to you. And my husband was looking. I was like, no, good luck, good luck. And so when he walked out, my husband was like, what did I said, oh no, he's gonna learn today. I said, because if we tell him, then he's gonna be resentful for us. The
Yeah.
world needs to tell him. That way he will hear the message. And so we're like,
Mhm.
yeah, he's gonna learn today. Like you can't just show up how you want to show up.
Okay, so then that's the same thing as going to Walmart, showing up the
Yeah,
way you want to
yeah.
show up.
You're not
Oh,
letting me finish my
I'm
story.
sorry, my bad. My bad. My bad. That was
Okay,
me.
no problem. It's no problem. So a couple hours later, my son comes home and we just sitting
Right.
there like, here we go.
Don't
We was
tell me
like,
he got
how'd
that
it go?
job.
Got hired on the spot. On the spot. Got hired. I start Monday. And we were like, and I
Oh
had
my
to
gosh.
say, I said, okay, I need you to tell me what happened. Tell me what happened.
Right.
And he was like, oh, well, when we walked in there, I introduced myself to the guy, and he was just like, that's an interesting belt buckle. And they started talking about that, and that led this to that, led to that. He said, we
Mhm.
just really connected. And that was a moment when mommy had to shut up,
Yeah, yeah.
where
I get
mommy
that.
had to say, you know what? That
Times
works
have
for him.
changed. Yeah,
Times
times
have
have changed.
changed.
Yeah.
And again, I get it, right? But that's a mentor moment that comes later. Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, bring your dirty house shoes, bring your too little dress, bring your bonnet, come sit in class and learn something. But if I turn you off at the door because I'm like, don't you come in here dressed like that, then you may never come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen
I
the
get
same thing happen in churches.
yeah.
Don't you come in here dressed like that.
Yeah.
Guess what? I'm not going to learn the message if you beat me back at the door. And what's more important, that I get to that level on my own, right? And I get to this level of respect on my own. So I want to do it, or am I just doing it for you? So I get it, but I think we have to be careful about, because again, that's writing their stories. I'm not good enough. Guess what? This was all I had.
Yeah.
You told me to come as I was.
Yeah.
You told me to come
Yeah.
as I was, and I came
So,
as I
yeah,
was, and
yeah.
you turned me around.
The church part definitely resonates because growing up, we had to be in dresses, stockings,
Listen,
that
listen,
don't can't wear white
close
after.
shoe.
Right. You can't wear white after, what,
You
Labor
better
Day,
not.
honey, but wear white on Easter, and you
Listen,
have your best dress. And
listen.
yeah, and yes, and that was ingrained. But as I grew older, and I remember my dad said something that just, oh my God, in the pulpit, he was like, starting this Sunday, you start coming as you are. And everybody was like, so you can see somebody was like, woo! And then you have them ones like, we need to talk after. Look, we're gonna have a meeting. He was like, no, he was like, and the same thing you said, if we need to meet these people where they are, I'm not preaching to you because you come every Sunday. You're not the ones I'm trying to reach.
Hello.
So
Hello.
he was like, I'm trying to reach Joe Blow outside, who
Yeah.
may be stank, who may be eggs and tags and all that.
Yeah.
But that part resonates with me. But even my child, 13-year-old, come on, we better go to the store. And she has this bonnet. And I promise it takes everything in me to keep my mouth closed, because I would even my boys has dreads and locks and stuff, and they used to wear them bonnets. And I didn't mind wearing the bonnet, so we take trips or whatever. And I remember
You
they
mean
were
traveling in the airport?
traveling airport, even riding in the car.
What?
And look, but this is me. Take them bonnets off when you go in that store. This is us. We stopping by the store to get some snacks. Take the bonnet off. And they was like, why, Mom? Why? Yeah, and at that point, I just got tired. But it is creating their story for them at that
Yeah.
point. And I get that.
And
I do.
again, I can remember going places with my oldest auntie, honey, and she would have them. You remember them little old school net rollers, and you had to take them rollers and put the pin through them to hold them. Head full of rollers,
The
had to
pink
wrap up with
sponge,
that,
the pink sponge rollers, honey.
with her kerchief, and we be in Winn Dixie. Let me tell you something, girl. So what was the difference? Oh, because
Yeah.
did she carry herself with a level of pride?
No,
What
well,
was the
we were young. We
misunderstood?
were young then. We better not say nothing to her.
No, you bet. But nobody else said anything to her
Yeah,
either.
yeah,
Big
yeah,
Mama didn't say, take them rollers out your
yeah,
head, girl.
yeah,
They would
yeah.
be like, honey, I'm rolling, look, because I'm rolling my hair on Saturday for Sunday.
For
It's
Sunday,
already
right?
understood. So let me go over here to the Winn Dixie and get me something to cook for tomorrow. Nobody said anything. Now all of
Yeah.
a sudden, our kids do it and our kids do it. And we're like, we don't carry ourselves with decorum. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we have not. I get it. I get it. Because I was telling somebody the other day, we were at an event the other day, and this, bless her heart, this girl was pregnant. She was all baby, and she came in there, and it was cold. And girl, the dress, first of all, it was a bodycon dress, and it was thin, like that sheen,
Oh, my
shiny
body fine.
material, that little sheen, Timu shiny knit. And so it was like a beige gray color. So it was sheer, it was
Mhm.
tight, and it was see-through. And here you are pregnant and you're walking through this event. And I looked and I was just like, okay. Because I was more so, gosh, it's cold outside, right? But she was
Mhm.
at the event, she was in attendance, she was getting information, she was doing what we want you to come so
Better
we can help you
herself,
get this
right?
thing and better yourself
Yeah,
so we
yeah.
can't turn you away. And again, that you never know the battles that people are fighting. And so I just had to, excuse me, I just had to suck that up. I'm so sorry, excuse me.
You're fine.
I just had to suck that up and say, it's more important for me that you come. The teaching will come with time because there
Mhm.
has to be a level of trust. And so, even that mutual colleague that I was telling you about, when she was like, this lady was mentoring her and telling her this and telling her that. And I was like, that's cool. But there's a limit, right? Because you have to do what's authentic to you. And so, because one of the things she's working on, she says, I feel like I'm not eloquent enough. Like, I don't talk right. And I told her, you are talking the way you need to talk to do the thing that you have been called to do. And her thing is ministry. And so she's ministering to people. And I told her, nobody wants you ministering to them when you ministering in King James Version. Nobody knows what you're talking about. Nobody knows that. Nobody understands that. What they want to hear is you say, let me tell you something. I was out there last year. I was out there 2 years ago and I overcame it. Let me, girl, I know the temptations you're going through. I know what
Mhm.
little I told you, but this is what's real. So I told her, I was like, this is your gift. So yeah, it's good to say I want to improve, but it's also good to be able to meet people where they are. And a lot of times that's our gift. And it gets rewritten out of our story because people don't like it. People feel like you should be a different way.
Hmm. That's so good, Lillian. That is, and that's really, I guess, really powerful in itself, that we have to, whatever the mindset that we were conditioned in, having based on experience, based on just the changing of times, learning and figuring out how to rewrite the story. And that's where we are. Why does it matter to rewrite the story? And it does. And it's power in rewriting the story based
Yeah.
off of our experiences, based off of, okay, what happened in the past or what happened when we were growing up.
Thanks,
It's
take
not
care.
working no more. It's not
Yeah,
working no
yeah,
more. And
yeah.
so we have to rewrite the story. So why does it matter? I know that when I started changing my mindset, specifically career wise, when I figured out that like you said, I had to train the person. I'll even say it. I was should have been slated to become a CEO of this nonprofit organization. I was slated because at that point I had the highest education, I had the experience, and then somebody comes in and swoops in and says, I think that you're going to be a better fit because of the profile of what this organization is designed for. So let's let the Black girl train you, because you know what? She is the one that has the experience. And after that, I had to change the mindset. Now, I did not know what that meant. I did not know what that looked like, but I knew something different had to happen. So I said, okay, then maybe let's go into a different arena. So education was what I did. I did the same thing. I worked my way up from the bottom to the top. I worked my way up to, I was an academic advisor coordinator for one of the largest departments at a university. I worked at an all-girls school university, and I worked my way up to become a regional campus director. So I was overseeing my own campus. It was a satellite campus, but I ran it. I did it. I figured it out. Again, learning everybody's roles, learning policies, learning mandates, learning this, learning that. And where I should have gone, I didn't. So I was like, okay, something got to change. Something got to change. Let's move to another look. Because again, I still had that, you got to work 40 hours. You got to work 9 to 5 because that's the only
Yeah,
way you're going to be successful. I
yeah.
still had that ingrained, but I knew something it had to be different. Something had to change, and I just didn't know. But the more I did it, the more I started going outside of what I was doing, outside of my 9 to 5, networking, learning new things, learning new skills. I think when life made me learn different things, that's when I said, aha, I've got to now become creative. Because right now, what I've been doing is just not where it's not satisfying, it's not fulfilling. It's paying me, but it's not paying me what I'm worth. How can I get what I'm worth but still be satisfied and still be fulfilled with what I should be doing? The story I now tell myself is, how can I get all of that by working for myself? Entrepreneur, being creative, learning and developing new skills in order to grow my business, in order to start a business, in order to even say, this is what I'm about to do, and this is the mindset that I now have to change. It has to be what I can do in order to get the fulfillment that I want, to get the satisfaction that I want, to get the success that I want, because I can no longer depend on anybody else. And that is when I started figuring out how to rewrite my story. I no longer can work for somebody. I can no longer work a 40-hour job for 40 years in order to get only 40% of what I've put in for those 40 years. Let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about it. 40, 40, 40. I can, and I'm gonna say it again, I can no longer work 40 hours a week for 40 years just to get 40% of what I made in my whole entire work life. We're gonna let that marinate just a little bit, right? So I had to
Look,
rewrite my story, right?
what the old folks used to say, that was a shouting station right there. Because when I tell you,
It's what I learned. It's what I learned. And even though the other life happenings and things with Cedric and things with, how everything just overturned, but it made me just stop and just think about it. Why am I waiting for somebody else to do this for me?
listen, I'm waiting on you to save me when I have the power, ability, and opportunities.
For myself.
But again, that's rewriting the narrative too,
Yeah.
because we are taught that we have to wait on other people to deliver us, to save us, to position us. We
Yeah.
don't know that we have the power to do that, right? We don't know our own strength because we don't get to practice those muscles early on in life. We don't get to practice
No.
and refine that skill. And for me, that's where the shift came. Now, it overwhelmingly impacted me in my career, but it started with that family stunting me and making me think I wasn't worthy. So in my career, when I would get overlooked for opportunities, when I would get professionally, I don't even want to use that word, when I would get intellectually stolen from, or
Uh-oh.
opportunities would get taken from me, I thought it had to do it with me. I thought it meant I wasn't good enough. I wasn't worthy. I was broken. I had to work harder. And so I had to learn that the reclaiming my story, claiming the ownership, taking back my power, that was on me. I had to learn that, and this was a really hard lesson, but I had to learn that I am not supposed to dim my sparkle. I'm supposed to figure out where it is that I need to shine. And that's not what we were taught. We were just taught you shrink yourself, you fit in, you keep your head down, you do your job, you don't make waves. Not understanding that this just may not be the place for me to do that. And so
Yes.
now, and that's a radical idea, right? Because
Yeah.
now I
How dare you
understand,
think that
how
way?
dare I? But look how much time we wasted,
Listen, that's the thing,
opportunities that, and granted, I am a believer that if it's for me, it is for me. But look at the times and opportunities wasted, other
Yeah.
opportunities or avenues that we didn't explore because we were so busy at the next organization, I'll do this. And looking
Listen,
back, I could see 5, 10, 15 years ago when I should have been like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna let
child.
y'all have this. I'm gonna let you do you, and I'm gonna go do me. But I didn't have the confidence to do
Yeah.
that.
Come
I
on,
was taught
confidence.
I was supposed to fall up under someone else. Entrepreneurship was not something that was taught to me.
No, nope.
Strength in that regard was not taught to me. And think about it, because what we're actually talking about is taking risks.
Yeah,
And that was just not something that Black people were taught to do.
nope, nope,
Safety
nope.
was silent.
Afford to take a risk.
And to some degree, I get it, because guess what? My kids like to eat every day. You know what I'm saying? So if I take this
Why?
risk today,
Why?
right, I just fed you 2 days. But if I take this risk today and I don't have
Yeah,
this job tomorrow, then what does
yeah,
that mean for me? And so
yeah,
that's fear that we're built in. And so rewriting our stories is not only reclaiming authority over us or authorship over our life, because understanding that we get to write our stories. And one of the things I tell my students, the blessing of adulthood, when you are a child, when you are born, you cannot help the family that you were born into. You cannot help your circumstances. You cannot help your situation. You can't help that. You just stuck. The beauty in adulthood is getting to choose. So if I
mhm,
have people in my life that don't feed into me, people who are perpetuating this myth that I am not good enough, that I am not worthy, that if I don't do things this way, then I'm less than, the beauty in adulthood is I can cut you off and I can choose who my family will be. I can choose who I will surround myself with to
yep,
pour into me, to help support and encourage me, and to help teach me a different way of thinking. And that, to me, is the beauty of adulthood, that now we get to choose. It's important to understand how to claim ownership over your story so you can start rewriting it the way that you want to.
yeah. And so for me, some of the new narratives that I have had to reclaim and take ownership of is my success doesn't have to look like anybody else's, right? What you define as successful may not be that for me. But again, we were raised on you got to go to school,
Lula Mae's daughter is over here doing this. What you over here doing? It's the comparison built in. Your cousin doing this. My son can do it. It's that comparison.
Yeah. Success don't look the same for everybody.
And it
Right?
shouldn't. And
Right.
it shouldn't.
It should not. And we shouldn't hold that. But we were held to that. We should.
Listen.
Perfect example. My two sons. My oldest son, he has always been that I got a goal. I'm working towards that goal. I know I can see where I'm going. My middle baby, I'm just gonna figure it out, and I'm just gonna wait over here in the corner and figure it out, honey. And whatever you need from me to help you figure that out, I'm
Let
here.
me know.
I remember I used to get on those teachers because they went to the same school, and my oldest of course, went first. And then my second one had a little more challenges, given that he had some assistance that he needed. He worked through that kind of hindered him he was smart, but he had a lot of hindrance that kind of, but the teachers used to compare them. And I remember going into those parent teacher conference, and I remember the phrase used to come out, Bryce is not like, I said, I'm going to stop you right there. You will not compare my two children. They're not the same. They're different. And so we're going to respect who they are, where they are at that time, and we're going to teach them where they are. You're not going to look at my middle son and say, CJ was like this. What?
And again, do you really think, educators, that it's fair and realistic to set expectations for one based off of another? Because that is the most insane thing to me, because this child over here got it. You should get it easily. I may need to get it another way. And it's not that I can't be successful, but my success is going to look different because I am different.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. It's yeah, that's another podcast, right?
Listen.
Educators.
Listen.
Look, and we're one too, because, and so we know, so our success is not going to be the same. So stop trying to compare what Sally did, Bonquisha's supposed to have. And because Sally had it, does not necessarily mean that Bonquisha can be better.
Listen, because Sally may have had an opportunity that Bonquisha didn't get.
Child, look, that's another podcast.
Listen, that's a whole nother one. Dare I say a privilege that Bonquisha didn't get, right? But here's the other thing I think we need to do in creating new narratives. I think we need to be very, very clear that two things can be true at the same time. I can be strong and also know my limits.
Yeah.
I can be worthy.
Yeah.
And I can be enough, but I don't have to do that for you. It doesn't have to look the way you want it to look. And it's this idea that we have to be very linear, that we need to rewrite. And that's one of the things I had to understand about my life. My dreams are not linear, so my success may not be linear, because if you were to ask me 10 years ago what I would be doing today, I didn't think it would have been this. If you would have asked me 20 years ago where I would have been today, it definitely would not have been this. If you would have asked that little girl who was being told to sit down and be quiet with your fast tail what I would be doing, it wouldn't have even been on the realm of understanding for me. And so my success is not going to be linear, so it doesn't look like anyone else's. It looks like mine. And I may not even get to the epitome of where I think I'm going to be until whenever. I hope it ain't whenever, but whenever. But that's okay for me. And I had to understand that happiness, success, fulfillment is going to be defined differently for different people. And because your definition is different doesn't mean it's any less valid than mine.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. All right. So then let's talk about how to start rewriting our story. For those of our listeners out there, if you're struggling, let's talk about it. I think some practical tips that we can look at: identifying the old script. So we've talked about it. What's the story that you keep repeating, right? So let's first identify what that story is that you keep repeating. Again, for me, working twice as hard just to be noticed.
Just
Another
to
one
know, twice as
is,
hard, just to be ignored. Not even noticed, but ignored. Yeah.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Then another one is asking whose voice it is. Okay. And we didn't talk about this last time, but determining between the noise and your voice, right? Which one is it?
Girl,
Which one is it?
girl, let me tell you
Whose voice
something.
are we listening to? Is it society,
Oh,
experience, fear? Go ahead. Go ahead. Take it on. Take it on.
that reminds me, and this is something that is in my heart that I'm going to do something with. And I'm sure this will be, if nothing else, this will be a podcast, but I see this being a conference. I see this being a workshop.
Come on.
Black Mama Trauma. There was a lady on YouTube, and she does research onto Black Mama trauma. And this is one of the things she was talking about. Insecurity is the voice of our mother.
Child.
Insecurity is your mother's voice in your ear articulating her fears. And so think about the thing. And I had to learn this about my mom. Sometimes, and I don't, it is what it is. I'm not prefacing this. Sometimes it's the jealous voice because you have an opportunity to do what your mother did not get to do. So
Yeah.
a lot of times the voice that you hear is that limitation of fear, right? Don't you go back to school? You got that baby.
Ooh.
Don't you take this job? You better stay over there where you know you got a sure thing. Don't you leave that relationship because the dog come with the flea,
The
right?
dog come with the fleas.
Oh
Yes,
no,
you just
the
said.
fleas come with it. Excuse me. The fleas come with the dog. Let me get it right. I don't want to misquote nobody. The
Come on,
fleas
come
come
on.
with the dog. And
Yeah.
so this idea that when we hear those voices, it's sometimes it is our mother, sometimes it is our family, sometimes it is that generational trauma, that generational bump that we just can't get past because our family didn't show us how to deal with it. And understanding whose voice it is it you speak? Now, if you want to speak negativity onto you, I don't think
Yeah.
you should, but that's you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But allowing other people to speak their fears, their insecurities, their
Yeah.
narrative on your
Mhm.
life and claiming it as fact is not the way to go. We have
Yeah.
got to understand the voice, and we have to be clear about whose voice we're willing to follow.
Listen, that's good. That's good. That's good. All right. And so once we have figured out that voice, then replacing it with a new story, right? So
Mhm.
start telling yourself, or at least for me, my value isn't tied to how hard I work for others,
Listen, because I is
right?
smart, I is kind, I is important.
It's how
Shoot,
we show up for
it's how you show up
ourselves.
for you.
Ah, child, child. That
And
is the
truth be
hardest
told,
lesson, the hardest lesson.
it is, but truth be told, we should not expect anyone to show up for us as hard as we go show up for ourselves. So you should not get your feelings hurt when someone tells you, I will speak your name in rooms that you're not in, and then they don't speak them. Why we feel betrayed? Like you go speak your name. You use your voice. You affirm you. And
Yeah,
I look back in the day, the old folk used to say, can't
here we
nobody
go.
plead my case like I plead mine, right? I don't need you to go to church and fall down on my behalf. I need to plead my own case because can't nobody plead it like I can.
So
Same
churchy,
thing
so
goes,
churchy.
listen, listen, I don't want the rocks to cry out for me, right? Because I got to tell my story, but
Yeah.
understand
Honey, you on a roll, boo. You on a roll. You on a roll.
in my heart. That's who I am. But just again, just affirming ourselves
Yeah.
and speaking
Yeah.
things and not being disappointed when people show you who they are. I don't
Mm.
and think about this, a lot of times it's insecurity, but also competition. Like me and you are pretty equally yoked when it comes to our qualifications. So
Yeah.
if we apply for the same job, am I gonna be mad because you didn't go in there and big me up?
No, we are
No.
okay. Oh, look,
I'm
wait.
just
Let's
I'm just using it as an example. We are
we're gonna
no,
rewind back.
stop.
Dr. Lillian.
We're not that. Let me tell you something. What when we put us on paper,
I hear
we
you.
are equally yoked.
I hear you.
And so again, do I expect you to go into a job that I'm applying for next to you and be like, Lillian is that girl? No,
Yeah.
I don't. I
Yeah.
expect you to go in there and say, let me tell you about Kelly, because
Yeah.
Kelly is she, Kelly is her, Kelly is me. When you don't do that.
So you did something for me that I think goes along with what we're saying. You remember we just came back from a conference, and I said, I wonder if they need a web design for this organization. And we won't know unless you tell them what you can do. And I was like, okay, I'll tell them. And like you was like, I don't see you moving. I don't see you walking. I'll tell them what I want to tell them. They will never know.
Because when I tell you the president, the vice president, the treasurer, the secretary, the parliamentarian was just sitting right there, they wasn't doing nothing. I'm like, go now. Go now. The time is nigh. Go now. What are we waiting for?
But it was that, should I? Maybe
Yeah.
I'm not worthy. Maybe they have somebody else that they have in
Right.
mind. And,
I'll do it later.
right.
Because it's easier to hear a no when I don't have to face you. But what ended up happening? Tell the listeners what ended up happening though. Because tell them what happened.
So because you got on my nerves, I went up there to
And did.
I said, do y'all need a web design? I am interested in in fact, we do.
Who
Thank
knew? Who knew?
Look, thank you.
Look, I guess you helped me out. All right, thank you.
But
you know
yeah,
what?
it's that affirmation, really.
And I'm gonna
And
tell you
sometimes it is
something.
others affirming
It's
you. Yeah.
others. And I'm gonna tell you something. Sometimes people see something in you you don't see in yourself. And that's why it's so important that you surround yourself with a very specific group of people, because I don't want the people who are going to speak fear and doubt into me. I want the people who are going to speak life and support into me. And so
Yeah.
I had one of the ladies who was at the conference. I don't know if you remember her, but I introduced you to her, and she's younger than us. But when I tell you now, you talk about dope Black girls, that's a dope Black girl. And she was one of those people that was like, I'm going to say your name in spaces you're not in. And I was like, oh, that's cute. Because that's not been my experience. Like, people tell you
Right.
that, but they don't mean
Right.
that. They
Never
just telling
happened.
you
Yeah.
that. But she actually did. And I'll never forget, someone reached out to her to do something. And her response, she CC'd me on this email. And her response was, I just don't have a desire or opportunity to do that. Who would be good for that? Lillian Williams, right? And when she said that and said that to me, I went off on her. I went off on her because the person reached out to me and was like, oh, your name came up for this and we would like you to do this, do that. And I was just like, first of all, who told you? You don't volunteer me for nothing. Don't put my name in nothing. You didn't, girl. I went off on her. I did.
Yeah.
And girl, I came home and I told Hubs, and me and Hubs was like, who she thinks she is? Like the audacity. Oh, and he was like, yeah, she was wrong for that. She should have asked you first. And I was like, yeah. And girl, later that night, I was just like thinking over it, and it was in that still small voice.
Right.
But didn't you say you wanted to do those types of things? You said you wanted to be able to speak in these spaces and do these things. This is
Right.
an opportunity. And so I chewed on the spell. I chewed on the spell. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it. And so I said yes. And I did it, and it was wonderful. And I'm actually going back for the third year to do it again because it was just such a good opportunity. I loved it. They loved me. It was wonderful. It was right up my alley.
Oh, good.
And I had to go back to her and apologize. Number one, I had to apologize because I did cuss at her. Like, words of cussing hit her from my mouth because I was just like, no, let me tell you something. Don't you step out here. And luckily, she's that kind of person where she was just like, it was what it was. I did what I did. And we're still friends. We're still
Right.
friends. And so I went back and I apologized. But then I also had to tell her thank you because you pushed me somewhere I would have never allowed myself to go. I said I wanted this thing, but I was doing everything to block myself because I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel good enough. I really had this mentality like, who wants to hear what you have to say? Go sit down. Those insecurities from a little girl were coming up.
Right.
Go
Sit
sit
your fast
down.
tail down.
Listen, don't nobody want to hear you again. Why?
Yeah.
Who are you to tell us? All those things in my head. And when I went out there, girl, the feedback I got, girl, that first year I went, people were in tears. People were hugging me. They were like, can we stay in touch? Like, it was just such an awesome opportunity. And then they asked me to come back the second year. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I felt so empowered. And again, I would have never given myself that opportunity had she not saw something in me and pushed me. So let me tell you something.
Yeah. You did that. Yeah, you definitely did that. And you're right. You have to surround yourself with people that affirm you. Not only that, surround yourself with truth tellers, mentors, friends. Yeah, I heard that you should have at least a mentor, at least help you get to where you want to go. but having those friends who hold you accountable to
Accountability.
write your new story. That
The
accountability
truth
is
tellers. Girl, when you
it-
say you got to have a truth teller, do you know the level of trust and vulnerability it takes in a friendship, in a professional relationship, in
and
a
I don't
mental
like it.
relationship?
I don't like it.
Listen, for
I don't
somebody
like
to be able
it.
to look at you and
Yeah,
say, Kelly, you
I
were
don't like.
wrong.
Yeah,
You
I
were
don't
wrong,
like it.
right?
I
It
don't like
doesn't feel good.
it.
But guess
Don't.
what? That is how we grow, and that is how we are
Mhm.
not refined and pruned through easy and smooth. We are refined and pruned and burnished by rough. It's got to be some uncomfortableness. It's got to be some friction to smooth us out. We are not going to be better if all you do is surround. Oh, let's see, what would it look like if we were a person who only surrounded ourselves with people who told us what we wanted to hear? Do we have any real relevant current examples of what that would look
Hmm.
like? And we see the disaster that is when
Yes,
people don't tell
right.
you
Putting
no,
havoc everywhere.
when people don't tell you no, when people don't give you the truth.
Yeah.
And again, you should, and me and my brother were actually having this conversation this morning, like this idea that this person does not
Hmm.
want to surround themselves with people who are going to tell them the truth. If
Right.
you really want to be the greatest leader, if you really want to be a great person, you have to surround yourself with diverse ideas, diverse
Diverse.
opinions, and
Diverse.
people who are going to listen, and people who
Just
are going to look you
just
in your
diverse.
face and people who are going to look you in your face and say, you were wrong.
Right.
And that's okay. Let's fix it. Let's figure out if your intent is to do this is not the way to do it, but let's figure out how we can get you to that point. That's what you should
Mhm.
want.
Yeah. Look, that's another podcast too.
That's a series. I think it should be called 47 Reasons Why I Will Never.
47 reasons why you are hilarious.
Or we can call it 45 or 47. Look, 45 and 47 reasons why I will never. I will never. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm back.
Ciao.
Look, I'm
Oh,
back.
honey.
I'm back. I had a moment, but I'm back.
Ooh, honey, look, and we're here.
But yeah.
So yeah, okay. So let's go over the steps again. So that's
Mhm.
identifying the old script,
Mhm.
asking whose voice you really listening to,
Mhm.
replacing it with a new story, and then surrounding yourselves with people who affirm you and also truth tellers. Okay. And so I
Mhm.
think if we can get those tips down, I think that we can begin to write our new story. So
Mhm.
we're going to give a prompt, interactive prompt for our listeners out there. So that means for you, our wonderful listeners, that means go grab a journal, grab a pen and paper, and just write. The story I've been telling myself is, but the truth is.
Come on.
The story I've been telling myself is, but the actual truth is.
And
Let us know.
I'm definitely going to challenge myself to do that.
Yes,
I've started
yes.
back journaling, and
Uh,
I'm going to do that. I am going to do that today. I'm going to add
reading
that
and
in.
writing, I don't want to do. I don't want to do.
Oh, but type it in.
I
Type
don't
it.
want
Do a written, a spoken
I
journal.
was
You
going
know,
to
you
say
can do
voice
that.
and have somebody write it for me. So yes,
Yeah.
listeners, so write that and then put it in the comments. Leaving it as a review. Let us know what that is for you. How does that look for you? How is, the story that you've been telling yourself? How is it very different from what the actual truth is? We would love to hear from you. Just a closing thought. You don't have to live by the story somebody else ended.
Come on. I think that's going to be the weekly mic drop.
Oh, is it?
There you go, sis. That's going to be the mic drop for the week.
You don't
You do
have to
not
live
have to
by the
live.
story someone else handed to you, right? So every
Mhm.
single day you get a blank page
Come
and
on,
just
blank pages.
rewrite that story. And
Mhm.
it may have to be a different page every day. Some
Yeah.
that you can continue on that page, but sometimes it's going to have to be a different page because
Yeah.
new experience or different experience brings about a new story. And that's what I continue to learn. We grow every day. We learn something every day.
Every day.
So our experiences change. We learn new experiences every day. So that means our mindset changes. Different thoughts come into play. So our story may change several different times. That's
And that's
okay.
okay. That's okay.
Okay.
That's
That's
why
okay.
books have volumes, chapters, and editions, honey.
Come
Keep on
on.
changing and writing
Come
that story.
on.
Keep,
Come on.
keep on.
What do we want from you? We want to hear from you. We definitely want to hear from you. We want to hear what your story has been and then what your truth is. We want to hear how those stories have changed. How many different times have you had to write your story? We want to hear all of that. What's one story that you are rewriting now? I want you to leave it in a review. I want you to tag us. I want you to inbox us because we definitely want to hear from you. So if
Yeah.
this episode spoke to you, do us a favor. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Mike's Moms and Mayhem. Leave a review and share it with someone who needs this reminder today because we have somebody that we all know who needs a reminder. You have any closing thoughts, friend?
No, I think you did. I think that was it. Yeah, just
This
don't
was
be
a good
afraid to keep writing. Yes,
one.
keep writing. Look, I actually have it, it's the same, but I have something in my journal that says that basically you are the author of your life. So feel free to edit, revise, and change drafts however often you need to do that. I think that was really well said, how you said, sis, keep
Yes,
writing. Start a blank page if you need to, but I think
yes,
you did.
yes,
I think you
yes.
said it perfectly.
Awesome, awesome. Follow us. We are Mike's Moms and Mayhem. You can follow us on our website, mikesmomsmayhem.com. If you want to email us, it's info@mikesmomsmayhem. Again, that's info@Mike's Moms Mayhem. You can follow us on YouTube, our YouTube channel. You can follow us on our Facebook page, our Instagram page, and again, once we learn, our TikTok page as well. So if there is nothing else, until next time, I am Kelly.
And I'm Lillian.
And so keep the mics on, keep the mom energy strong, and the mayhem exactly how
Exactly how
you
you
like
are.
it.
Yeah.
See you later.
All right. Bye.